basic homework for 8-year-old confusing me. Let me neither
dilly nor dally nor ham nor haw, neither shilly nor shally or dull my jaw. There's nothing particularly confusing about this homework.
Indeed, the OP just made a false assumption, which is a common error in math problems of all sorts. But the fact that this homework problem isn't a completely poorly written befuddling mess isn't going to stop us from engaging in some discourse. So let's solve OP's problem, explain why their assumption is surely false, discuss convex and concave polygons, figure out what the heck a trapezium is, introduce axonometric projections, sort out these regional differences in vernacular, explore the link at the bottom of this worksheet, look at student-submitted solutions, and discuss another more difficult problem. And we'll begin by reading the rest of this. The worksheet asks, where are they? Use the isometric grid paper below to find the following polygons. And we see the list of polygons that we're supposed to find there, and we need to find them in this grid. And as for the OP's confusion, here's what they said. Can somebody please tell me where I can find a pentagon, heptagon, and octagon in this grid? I've assumed the sides must be equal, as this is basic year 3 mathematics. Unless that's where I'm going wrong? Thank you in advance. Looking at the worksheet, we can see the OP has already found a rectangle, they've found a rhombus, a parallelogram that is not a rectangle, an equilateral triangle, a right-angled triangle. In fact, there's another right triangle here, so this is probably supposed to be the scalene triangle, that is a triangle with no congruent sides, an isosceles triangle that isn't equilateral, so that's a triangle with exactly one pair of congruent sides, and the other shape they've checked off their list is the trapezium. I have never heard of no such pezium. Is it just a trapezoid? I've heard of trapezoids before. Let me crack out the math dictionary, but I've recently lost my physical copy of the Oxford Math Dictionary, so I've been relying on my PDF. Here we've got the trapezium, a quadrilateral with 2 parallel sides. But then, what's a trapezoid? Trapezium rule? Trapezoid rule is the trapezium rule? Wait, there's no trapezoid? All this time? Was it? Okay, I guess here is the trapezium. As for the OP's struggle, the mistake is clear. The worksheet has already explicitly mentioned shapes that are not equilateral. And yet, the OP has assumed that the shapes need to be equilateral, even though that isn't even consistent with their work so far, let alone the shapes that they've yet to find. Making false assumptions that inhibit your ability to solve problems is a common error in life in general, really. Probably everybody has some false beliefs about themselves, and these can be a big roadblock. For example, I used to think I shouldn't even bother trying to sleep because I know I'll never be able to without a body pillow of my one true love. But look at me now. Another less famous example is this 9-dot puzzle, where you try to cross all 9 dots with 4 strokes without lifting your pencil. It's easy to do once you stop assuming that you must stay within the 9-dot array. Or the stand an egg upright on a flat surface challenge. It might seem difficult when you assume the egg must stay in perfect shape, but it's really quite elementary. Having removed the heavy burden of congruent sides from our weary shoulders, we can easily identify a pentagon, a hexagon, a heptagon, and an octagon. Someone of a more refined taste may think these solutions we found unsavory, since these polygons don't contain all the line segments that connect pairs of their points. This is the hallmark of convex polygons, and maybe it's unsatisfactory to have these ugly beasts in homework for an 8-year-old. So could we make our heptagon and octagon concave, just like the pentagon and the hexagon? Yes, for example, like this. Here's a concave 7-sided heptagon, and a concave 8-sided octagon. But as far as making the polygons equilateral like the OP wanted to assume, that is just not gonna happen. An equilateral polygon, that is, one with all equal sides, is also equiangular, meaning their interior angles are all equal. But the only angles less than 180 degrees that we can create on this grid have measures of 30, 60, 90, or 120. Meanwhile, the interior angles of a regular n-gon are n-2 over n times 180 degrees. As n gets larger, this value approaches 1, showing that the interior angles of regular n-gons approach 180 as the number of sides increases. A regular hexagon, then, has interior angles of 120 degrees each. And so, of course, we can in fact find a regular hexagon on this grid because 120 degree angles are available to us. But for the shapes OP's asking about, the pentagon, heptagon, and octagon, they would have these interior angles, and these are simply not available on the isometric grid paper, hence we'll not be able to find a regular version of these shapes. With all that said, the worksheet seems straightforward enough, but believe it or not, there was a good deal of disagreement about the simple instruction. For example, was it legitimate to use the borders of the grid in order to construct some of the shapes? I mean, the border isn't really part of the grid, right? Does using it defy the spirit of the instruction to use the isometric grid? Like, if you're in circle jail and you stand on the circular perimeter, the guards would have decent reason to be concerned. "I'm in the circle," you say. "In fact, I'm right on the circle. I couldn't be following the directions of my imprisonment any better." And the guard might say, "Silly serial arsonist, or you just don't understand the spirit of going to jail." Well, in this case, we are supposed to find a rectangle, so if the borders aren't allowed, then the rectangle is gonna be headed for the milk carton. This Redditor agreed that it's a little strange right angles are required for some of the shapes, since that requires use of the borders, which we might not consider to be part of the isometric grid. But it doesn't say we need to use the isometric grid, it says use the isometric grid paper. The borders are certainly part of the isometric grid paper. You would think this entire thing is the isometric grid paper, but if you look more closely, it actually says use the isometric grid paper below. That means, for example, this is not part of the isometric grid paper. It's the borders which enclose the isometric grid paper. But that would mean if we were to cut it out, we should still have the isometric grid paper below, but now we've lost, at least visually, the borders which are critical for drawing the right-angled shapes. Yeah, definitely a strange worksheet. Maybe the shapes requiring right angles should have been left out.
You underestimate my power.
Because actually, it is possible to draw a shape with right angles within the confines of the grid. Let's just get a fresh sheet of isometric grid paper, and bam, like magic, it's a rectangular prism with how many right angles? Well, there are 3 at each vertex, and there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices. So that's 24 right angles without using the borders of the grid. Of course, the isometric grid paper makes it so easy to draw 3D shapes like this because that's what this type of grid paper is actually for, sketching isometric projections of 3D objects. For contrast, here is a dimetric grid, which can be used to sketch dimetric projections. We can sketch a cube, and here see how the 3 axes intersect. In a dimetric projection, 2 of the axes are equally foreshortened, and so these 2 angles are equal, but this 3rd angle is different. As you would expect, in an isometric projection, iso meaning same, the 3 axes are equally foreshortened, and so all 3 of these angles have the same measures, 100, 20 degrees. And this is a common projection method used in cool video games like Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre. In contrast, Fallout is a beloved classic that might be called isometric, but if we look at a rectangular prism in the game, we can see how the three axes intersect. And we can see that in fact none of these three angles are the same. Hence, Fallout is an example of trimetric projection, with three different angles, none of the axes being equally foreshortened. I will say, OP going to Reddit about this question is a little bit silly. Not because the mistake is so obvious or anything, but I would think before posting it on Reddit, you would go to the link with the source of the problem, which is on the worksheet. If we go to this link, we end up on a Cambridge-based math enrichment website, which, wouldn't you know it, has student solutions. And looking at the solution provided, we can see that the restrictions on the shapes are no more strict than they appeared. The octagon, for example, just needs 8 sides. It doesn't need to be regular or even convex. But perhaps the OP did go here, and the student solutions just weren't available at that time. Regardless, landing on a UK-based page does give some clarification to trapezoid enjoyers like myself as to why this worksheet says trapezium. And from the Reddit discourse, you might think, oh, that clears it up. It's just a funny regional difference. Though Wolfram Math World makes things seem a little bit more dramatic. Definitions for trapezoid and trapezium have caused controversy for more than 2,000 years. Wow, and I thought I fought stupid battles. Here in America, I don't think I've ever heard the term trapezium, but Wolfram Math World says the American definition is a quadrilateral with no parallel sides, whereas the British definition is a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides, which is what Americans call a trapezoid, except not necessarily, because there's also the dispute of whether trapezoid means one pair of parallel sides or at least one pair of parallel sides, so that a square would be a trapezoid, just like it's also a rectangle, and for that matter, a rectangle is a trapezoid too. Tell me what you think about all this trapezoid trapezium business in the comments. You know, there's one thing I couldn't help noticing when I went to the enrich.com page for this isometric grid problem, and that's the challenge level. 1 star? Really? I'd feel like a bit of a wuss if we didn't take a look at one of the harder problems too. And can we cut the baby music? Leonard Euler. So here's one of the 3-star challenge problems I found. And I mean, 3 stars is really more my speed anyways. This super hard problem is about Latin squares, which are squares of symbols where every symbol appears once in each row and in each column. And for this problem, we're supposed to fill in a 6x6 Latin square using this information. The first row in the square is some 6-digit number n, so that if we double it, triple it, quadruple it, quintuple it, and sextuple it, we'll fill in the entire square. So that's the idea. Not only do we need each symbol to occur once in each row and column, but also the first row needs to contain a number whose double appears in row 2, triple appears in row 3, and so on. So pause the video and give it a try if you like. For starters, we know that the top left number in the grid has got to be a 1. If it was anything bigger, then by the time we got to 5 times the number in row 5 and 6 times the number in row 6, we would have carries that end up giving us a number too big to fit on the grid. Looking down here at 5n, since this is going to be some multiple of 5, surely the last digit is either 0 or 5. But it can't be 0, because if it were 0, then this number down here would be 0 too, and we can't have 2 zeros in the same column. So this is going to have to be the only other possibility, which is 5. Now remember, a 1 has to appear in every column. So a 1 has to be in this column. A 1 is going to have to be in one of these 3 rows where the number is odd. It can't be here because there's already a 1 in this row, so it must be here since the other odd row is already taken up. So this row, 3n, ends with a 1. Now we have to think what number here could be multiplied by 3 to to produce a 1 in the ones place. The only possibility, of course, is 7. Now that we have the ones place figured out at the end of row 1, we can just do the multiplication to find the ones place throughout the rest of the column. 7 times 2 is 14, so the ones place of this number is 4. 7 times 4 is 28, so this ones place is 8. 7 times 6 is 42. Now, we know all the numbers in this column must also appear in this column, but certainly, since this is just increasing multiplication, the digits in this column need to be increasing. So all the digits in this column must be present in this one in increasing order. Now, what digit goes here? It certainly can't be 1 or 7, but 8 and 5, if they were here, would make the number too big once it was doubled. So this is either 2 or 4. If it were 2, then the number is going to be too small, because once we triple it, we're not going to have a 4 in the hundreds, thousands place. That means this number has to be 4. Then, when we double this, we need to get 8 here, because 9 is not an option, which means whatever number goes here, there can be no carries once it is doubled. Hence, the number that goes here must be 2. Since either remaining number here, once it gets doubled, is going to give us a carry, we know that the number here is going to be 2 times 2 plus 1. Finally, if the number 8 goes here, then down here, 6 times 8 is going to be an 8 or a 9 if there's a carry, but neither number is allowed. There's already an 8 in this row, and 9 isn't an option. So it must be 5 that goes here, and 8 that goes here. And from there, it's straightforward to just do the multiplication to fill in the rest of the grid. And you probably recognize these as the digits that appear in the multiples of the reciprocal of 7. Well, that sure was fun. If you have any nice solutions to this problem to share, don't forget that you can post images to the community tab, where we would all love to see your brilliant ideas. And if you pick up any of the coolest math clothes in the world at mathshin.com, we'd love to admire that also. Link in the description and pinned comment. Pigeonhole principle, anyone?
Riverside Drive held me up when the first man I loved died. When I could only say I love you through sobs and say I'll miss you. Last time I wasn't talking shells out of the shotguns. Someone with a much bigger